A very good morning to you once again. Thank you for keeping it tuned and keeping it locked to Smooth 98.1. Your love music, love live station. 18 minutes past 8 a.m. on a hump of the week, Wednesday morning. We're smack dab in the middle of the working week. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this time, we take a walk into the locker room, take a look at sporting news, sporting events, sporting action from the last few days, and look forward to what it is to come in the coming days, and so on and so forth. My name is Ayokunmi. Great to have you join us once again on another eventful and interactive session. So we're looking for you to join us this morning and share your thoughts and perspectives. Today, Tega is not in. She had a couple of things to actually get sorted out. It's all for the greater good, but I will be doing this alone. And no. Joining me to take a look at the stories and, of course, break it all down. Iniobong Monday is with me on the call. Good morning to you, Ini. Great to have you join me in the locker room.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Lagos. Absolute pleasure to be joining you this morning. It's a beautiful time for sport. From a football perspective, it's the back end of the season. Trophies get handed out. Same thing with the NBA. It's just coming together, and we're really excited to be here to talk about it.
Yes, indeed, we are, and you can join us by sending your messages in on WhatsApp as you always do. The number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 You can also join us on YouTube. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. And I can see Uche Nawoko is already there in his front row seat, as he likes to get himself prepared. All right. Thank you for joining us, Uchenna. And of course, we're looking forward to more messages and thoughts this morning. All right, Ini, let's get things started in the world of tennis before we get into the juicy world of football to come. And let's talk about Novak Djokovic. Now, he said on Tuesday that he's in no hurry to find a coach to replace Andy Murray as he searches for his first win on clay this season ahead of the French Open. Now, just last week, he had actually parted ways with Murray after a very tough start to the season. I mean, the 24th-time Grand Slam champion has not had the best of times recently. And there have been questions over whether or not he should retire. Or he should keep pushing on. I think he's 36, if I'm correct on that front. And sorry, he turns 38 actually on Thursday. I was even taken from his age. He turns 38 on Thursday, and you just wonder. I mean, looking at his contemporaries, your Rafael Nadal's, your Roger Federer's, who have decided, you know what, we're done. But Novak is like, Baba no go die unless to Badarubo.
Clearly, he has the record in sight, in breaking the record of most single Grand Slams, held by Margaret Court. Margaret Court is on 24. He's on 24 as well. So he wants to get to 25. That is the target. That is the ambition. And that is quite understandable, for a very fierce competitor like Novak. You would understand why he wants to get to 25, because he's going to be the all-time great. He's going to be, the one that, the reference point, every time you talk about, single tennis. And that's why he's hanging on. That's why he really, he's got that self-belief that he can get to that particular gong. But you also worry about his body. You talk about his age. And the truth is, at some point, you need to start telling yourself the truth. Have I got, the physical freshness? Have I got the fitness levels, to be able to, perform at that high level? It was really surprising when he announced the separation with Andy Murray, because I still remember when that was announced, some months ago, and everyone was really excited. A former tennis star, coaching a superstar tennis star player, someone who was his competitor. It was just a fantastic story, fantastic news, but really surprising that things didn't quite turn out the way they expected. But for Novak Djokovic, it's to get in shape, in preparation for Roland Garros. He looks like he's got the mentality. He looks like he's got that self-belief, but is the body in the great shape? That is my worry.
Talking about his body not being in great shape, you talk about his mentality. I mean, we all know that Novak is a mentality monster. That Mamba mentality of Kobe Bryant. But one thing that we need to note here is that he hasn't won a single match on clay this season. I mean, he lost in Monte Carlo, he lost in Madrid as well. The French Open is also clay. Would this play on his mind going forward?
Yeah, it does, and even to the biggest sports stars, even to the biggest athletes, you go through a phase where things are not just happening for you, and you begin to self-doubt, you begin to second guess yourself, and maybe he's at that point at the moment where maybe that also culminated in him separating with Andy Murray, maybe, just maybe, but also you could look at him and say, for what he's done, the level of experience he's had in playing tennis, winning all these Grand Slams, winning all these ATP tours, winning all these, accolades. You would think that he should be able to find a way, find the resources, and motivate himself and go again. Because if you're going to play elite sports for a very long time, you're going to lose more than you win. And those moments of not winning,
Yeah.
just shape you into becoming a better sportsman. So I don't doubt that he would go into Roland Garros with the belief that he can go all the way.
Mm. Well, the French Open is not too far. Is Novak going to be able to break that record and be out there on his own with the most Grand Slam titles? Well, we'll have to wait and see. All right, moving on from the world of tennis. Let's talk about basketball. And I don't know whether to call this a wholesome story or a mix of being wholesome and unwholesome, but I'll let you be the judge of that. An Indiana Pacers fan who was pelted by bags of garbage and heckled for donning a Tyrese Halliburton jersey on the streets of New York City has been invited by the Pacers star to Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Indianapolis. Now, Hans Perez appeared on the Pat McAfee show on Monday afternoon and revealed he was a firefighter and a long-life Pacers fan. Showed off a Pacers tattoo on his wrist before he was surprised by Halliburton with the good news. I mean, this is good stuff for him. He getting invited to the game and everything, but I mean, Ini, if you are a Pacers fan and you are wearing a Pacers jersey on the streets of New York when you are facing the New York Knicks, I'm sorry, I don't condone what happened to him, but
getting to enemy territory, with donning the enemy's wear, it's not quite something advisable to do. But again, you also want to say that it's a brave fan. He's proud of his club and donning the club attire. In such a very hostile territory was something brave to do. But what I would say is that it's absolutely a great touch from Halliburton. It's absolutely amazing because you always get to hear that sports stars don't care that much. They care about the big bucks and they care about their careers. They just want to play and get paid. But it's not true. And this is one of those situations where these sports stars actually care, and they care about the fans, they care about the supporters, and it's really a good touch, making the fan feel like one of their own, and it would be a memorable experience for him, watching the game. I'm sure he will get an honorable mention at the game. Probably waves in the crowd. It's just
yeah.
fantastic. It's just fantastic for the fans, fantastic for the supporters of the club who would feel, they are cared about, the stars of the football club, they care about the fans, they care about the club, and it's just lovely. But a piece of advice for him, please don't try it next time.
Do not try it next time. But you know what I mean? Looking at, the gift or the prize you won from this, maybe I should consider donning my United shirts in Man City territory. Maybe I could get invited to Old Trafford. I don't know. Miracles do happen at the end of the day. Talking about the Knicks and Pacers, game 1 of the conference finals will come up tomorrow. That's 1 a.m. Nigerian time. So for the lovers of basketball, if you can stay up, that's a game you definitely want to catch up with. All right, let's switch gears to the world of football and let's talk about Man City. They gave Kevin De Bruyne a victory in his final appearance at the Etihad Stadium as Umar Mamouche, Bernardo Silva, and Nico Gonzalez all scored in a 3-1 Premier League win over Bournemouth on Tuesday that saw them climb into third place on the table.
what a result, and what sent for Kevin De Bruyne. It was a special day. Man City needed the 3 points, to get close to the ambition of being in the Champions League next season. But it was just special day. Kevin De Bruyne playing his last game at the Etihad Stadium. What a man! What a human being! What a footballer! What memories he's left for the Premier League. What an absolute superstar. The Premier League I've had it in the last 10 years. He's made, even as rival fans, we have absolutely enjoyed watching Kevin De Bruyne play. He's a master of the craft. He's done incredible things with that football club. Even like I said, as a rival fan, you sit down and watch him and you just love what he does with football. You just love how he makes the football talk. You just love how he just commands, respect on the football pitch, and to get that kind of send forth, winning, getting Man City closer to playing in the Champions League again next season was really lovely. At the end of the game, there was a little ceremony, and Kevin is a tough man. He's a tough guy. The emotions, overcame him a little bit. Pep Guardiola was in tears, and I know someone would ask, why would Pep Guardiola crying? And I'm thinking, Pep Guardiola knows that he's had a great time in England.
Definitely.
But I can also say that could have been not very possible if Kevin De Bruyne was not in that team, because he's been the heart and soul of that team for so many years, breaking records, getting to 100 points in the league, winning titles after titles, winning 4 titles in a row, winning the Champions League. Just when you think about it, you just have to salute the incredible talent of Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes, indeed. And talking about the game as a whole, before we go on this break, Man City are able to climb into third, going into the final game of the season. After having a torrid period, I think in October, where they went on a streak of losing games. They're in third right now, but it's still not home and dry, because from third to seventh, it's a 3-point gap. So anything could happen on the final day. Man City need to win their last game. I believe they're playing Fulham away. So we'll be keeping our eyes on the Premier League this weekend, because it's going to be fireworks, most definitely. So many teams still in contention for Champions League qualification. All right, let's take our first break of the morning. And when we come back in, we'll be talking about Man United and, of course, Ruben Amorim, who can't seem to explain why the fans are still backing him despite such a dismal season. So far, so good.
Yeah, nice one, brother.
It's very unusual to have you in the morning like this, so it's unusual.
I used to do it though. I've covered up for Tega a few times. I used to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe the times that I've not, or the times that I wasn't on breakfast yet. So
yeah, and Lego, I used to do physical sometimes. But it used to be wild. Lagos is a bit better now. There were times that the roads were blocked like this. You will come off out like 5 a.m. You'll come off out like 5 a.m. like this, and in that 5 a.m. you still get to smooth. I live in Surulere, so you will still get to smooth like to 8. I'm not joking.
Surulere just down there,
bro. You will come off out 5 a.m. like this. You see, because they go Eco Bridge like that time be like cheaper. The all these trucks in the spoil for that road like every 3 AK market days.
I can imagine. All right, join me back in. LK, I see you out there on YouTube. Where's Tega? Tega is doing some things for the greater good. She'll be back by God's grace next week. So just stick with us and don't go anywhere. All right, heading back in. All right, welcome back to the second half right here in the locker room on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life, 32 minutes past 8 a.m. My name is Ayokunmi. Iniobong Monday is still with me as well. We're taking a look at the sporting stories and, of course, bringing you up to speed with what's going on in the world of sports. You can join us and send your thoughts in. Let us know where you stand and your opinions on the matters we are discussing this morning. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. You can also join us on YouTube. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Grab a chair and sit in the front row and leave your messages in the chat box. I can see a couple of comments there already. I'll be taking them pretty soon. But let's get back into the nitty-gritty of the conversation this morning, Edie. Let's talk about Man United. Their manager, Ruben Amorim, said that he cannot explain why the club's fans and board are backing him despite the team's dismal domestic form ahead of Wednesday's All-English Europa League final. Now, this is Man United's worst top flight campaign for about 50 years, since they were relegated in 1974. But Amorim is not the same, is not under the same pressure as his opposite number in the final. That's Tottenham's Ange Postecoglou. I mean, Ini, could this backing be because he came in, should I say, after the season started, and everyone is looking at it that okay, it happened this way. Let's get to the end of the season. Let's have a summer. Let's begin afresh, and let's give him a chance to start from the get-go. Could that be the thinking of his backing?
Yeah, I think so too. I totally agree with you. I think that fans will allow you the time because they cannot really judge you. And in fairness, you really cannot judge him because he came in halfway in the season. It's not really had a handle on signing players. I know he's brought in Patrick Dorgu, but that's just one signing, and that's mid-season, and you really cannot judge the mid-season signing. So the fans are probably looking at it and say, you know what, this is the Eric Ten Hag team. He's not had a hand in deciding the incomings and outgoings and all of that. He will have that at the end of the season. So the fans will understand. But what the fans do not understand is the results. The results have been absolutely abject. It's been shocking. Even for Man United, who have not. You look at this playing squad and think that they need to do a lot of outgoings and incomings, but you have to look at the result and say it is relegation results. It's the kind of results Southampton should be having. Leicester City. And for a club of United standings, it's unacceptable, and that's where the manager is self-evaluating, and he's not quite understanding why they're supporting him, because it's the kind of results United have had in the past 4 months are sackable results. Anywhere in the world you sack a manager for that. For clubs that should be aiming for things at the right end of the table to be languishing where they are and losing matches in the manner and the fashion they're losing matches, the manager should be fired ordinarily. But it's not that simple. It's not that simple because he came in mid-season, things were already bad, but it feels like things have gone, have turned for the worse. But also, United are in the cup final, astonishingly. They're in the Europa League final, and the fans are like, you know what? If you give us that feeling of winning the Europa League final, maybe you buy yourself some capital. Maybe you just, you buy yourself a bit of time, to see how we can restructure and go again next season. But certainly next season, whether he wins the Europa League tonight or not, next season, United will not take this sort of results. If by, say, December, United are anywhere outside of the top 6, I think there will be questions.
I actually have a feeling that if even before December, those questions will definitely begin to, or should I say more questions, because they're already questions at this point in time. Let's talk about their opponents in the final tonight. That's Tottenham. Their manager Ange Postecoglou, he angrily defended his managerial record ahead of the final this evening after a very disastrous Premier League season, stating that he is not a clown. I mean, Spurs sit in 17th on the table, Man United in 16th. It just seems like really a battle of the clowns in that final, looking at their domestic league campaigns. But Edie, what are your thoughts on that final in general, and how do you see the whole game playing out?
It's really hard to call because two teams with identical Premier League records in terms of losing games and where they're fixated on the table, 16th and 17th. It's very hard to say who is better, but also you also look at the managers. Ruben Amorim came in December, and Postecoglou second season at the helm at Tottenham had a relatively good season, finishing 5th. But you have to look at it and say, which team is in better form? You can't find anyone. So they're both identical. Tottenham are not in great form. United are not in great form. They've done well on the continent But in terms of the league sitting, it's not been it's not, it doesn't make for good reading. So I feel
Mm.
like going into this game, it might be chaotic. It might really be chaotic. It might be that sort of game where you find a lot of goals, because both sides at the moment cannot defend to save their lives. It feels like there'll be lots of goals, but there's the X factor, and the X factor, in my opinion, is Bruno Fernandes. I feel like there is that player on the day who can grab a game by the scruff of his neck, and that's Bruno Fernandes. Tottenham don't have that. They're missing James Maddison, who on his day is a match winner. They're missing Dejan Kulusevski on his day is a match winner.
They have
And
Son.
that, and Son, potentially. So that for me plays into United's hands. United have been lucky enough to have Ahmad come back, at the right end of at the right time. We're hearing Joshua Zexi also, has traveled with the team. But for me, the star player, the man that United will look for inspiration would be Bruno Fernandes, and he might be the game decider, in my opinion.
Right. All right. Lagos, Nigeria, and the entire world. Where do you think this game is going to go? Do you think it's going to be a Spurs win or a Man United win? Let us know where you stand or where you sit, depending on how it is you want to look at it. Send those messages in on WhatsApp on 0809-444-0981. Or on YouTube, you can drop your comment there at Smooth981 FM Lagos. Tayo on WhatsApp says, I hope Onana has started to type his apology to the Man United fans, Ayo included. Something like man proposes, but God disposes. channeling his inner jam. I see you there, Tayo. Well done, well done. But Ini, before we leave that particular story, which of these two teams do you think needs this win more for different reasons? Is it a United or a Spurs?
I think it's Spurs. They haven't won any sort of trophy in 17 years. I think they need it. Because it feels like if you have this kind of season, if you have this sort of season and you're potentially finishing 17th, and you get a trophy, that puts you back in the Champions League. That allows you to invest in the club, because for Man United have the reputation already. Whether they're in the Champions League or not, their reputation precedes them. They have a name to protect. Players would always think, playing at Old Trafford is an absolute dream. A lot of players want to go there. They can still attract players. But
Right.
for Tottenham, they cannot attract any player if they're not playing in Europe. They cannot attract nobody except maybe, and this is not being disrespectful, except, players who are not up to the very highest level would probably want to go there. But if you want to attract the best players, you have to be in the Champions League. And that's why I think that Tottenham need this result more. But apart from just the Champions League, they haven't won a trophy in a very long time. So having some sort of trophy in the cabinet, really will boost everything at that club. The bragging rights, the stock in the market. It's just something that will boost that club at the moment.
Indeed. All right, let's leave the Europa League and let's talk about the Conference League, where Chelsea manager, that's Enzo Maresca. Now, he says that he's not happy that opponents Real Betis have been giving 2 days of extra preparation for next week's Conference League final. Now, what is going on here is that La Liga accepted a request from Betis to bring their final league game against Valencia. Now, originally scheduled for Sunday, they've brought it forward to Friday evening. So Betis have a couple of extra days of preparation, but Chelsea play their final league game on Sunday. That's 3 days before the final. Now, Maresca is not happy with that, but he doesn't have any control or any say about how other leagues decide to, in quotes, help their own teams. I mean, is this a non-starter, Ini?
I think it's really unfair. To be honest, I sympathize with Maresca, because I think it's unfair. I don't think UEFA should allow it, because it's really unfair. I understand, the Spanish FA trying to help their club, but I don't think UEFA should allow it. It doesn't allow for the integrity in the competition, but because I know why they shifted it, and the Premier League could have done it, but they cannot do it because Chelsea are involved in a make or break game against Nottingham Forest in a winner takes all. in terms of Champions League position.
Mm.
Betis are playing an inconsequential game, in the league. That's why it can be played on Friday. It doesn't decide anything. But Chelsea are playing a decisive game. And if you ask Chelsea, if you ask Maresca, the game on Sunday, in terms of priority, the game on Sunday is more important than the game on Wednesday in the Conference League, because the game on Sunday takes you into the Champions League.
Right.
The game on Wednesday takes you into the Europa League, and Chelsea want to be in the Champions League. So that game on Sunday is very important. But I feel like UEFA shouldn't allow it, because you're playing a final. We should have equal time to prepare for this game. It's a final game of the season. All the games in La Liga will be played on Sunday. I don't think UEFA should allow it. It's really unfair on Chelsea, and I totally agree with Enzo Maresca.
Well, I mean, if I think the fact that traditionally final games in the Premier League are always played on a Sunday, and all games come up at the same time. And I guess the fact that maybe UEFA doesn't really have much of a control over how the league games are scheduled at the end of the day. Well, I mean, on paper, yes, it's unfair, but I don't think anybody's going out or going beyond the letter of the law. It's unfortunate that Betis will have have more of preparation time than Chelsea does, but I think Chelsea can still pull something off at the end of the day come that game on Wednesday. Like you said, it's all about priority. Secure Champions League football on Sunday, and then figure out how to navigate that game on Wednesday, despite the short preparation time. All right, Ini, let me take some WhatsApp messages and messages on YouTube as we wrap up on the show this morning. Mohammed says, Tega is not around, but I'll give it to Tottenham because of Angie, the Australian, the underdog. All right. Thank you, Mohammed. This is Samuel from Olodia Papa. He says, please, Tottenham needs to win tonight to avoid noise pollution. I don't understand. What do you mean noise pollution? Samuel, please. My eyes are red this morning. Dr. Fariola says, Onana will help Tottenham to win the Europa League, if you know what I mean. Doctor, I don't know what you mean. Please explain to me what exactly you are trying to say. Please come out and say it. And Taya says, Maresca already giving excuses. If he wins, he'll form amnesia. Another angle. What if he's prepared himself just in case they don't win, and he'll say, we didn't have enough preparation time? I don't know. Anything is possible. Let me go to YouTube. Uche Nawokoe says, may United have victory today? 50-50 game, though. May we take our chances and not be poor in our decisions. Sad that one team in 16th or 17th will have a better season than Arsenal and City with 0 trophies. Well, see, that argument over better season, it rages on. I really don't know how to swing it, but it rages on, really and truly. Ibrahim Hassan, who's responding to Uche Nawokoe, says, they are there because of the new rule. If it were that Champions League dropouts join Europa League, do you think this abysmal performance by both Spurs and United will carry them? I don't know if I agree with that assertion, because 2 different competitions, and you need to beat what's in front of you at the end of the day. Spurs beat who were in front of them. United did the same thing. United beat Sociedad and Athletic Bilbao. They're not small teams by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know if that argument of the new format not allowing teams dropping from the Champions League to the Europa League. Ini, do you agree with that very, very quickly?
No, I don't. I don't. Obviously, like you said, you play what's in front of you, and to be in the final, you have to deserve to be in the final. And I think United and Tottenham have deserved to be in the final. United have played, like you said, Sociedad and Bilbao. Bilbao are hosting the final. They really wanted to be in that final. So for United to beat them in such a convincing manner, they have the right to be in the final.
All right, final message here. Richard says, it's really annoying that one of them will win a trophy, because rubbish spuds will win and start making noise, and Man Disunited win and also think they have arrived with Ruben. Disqualify them both. All I can say is, Richard, I hope you're not in the UK as an Arsenal fan, because Palace have a trophy already. Chelsea could win one. Spurs could win one as well. They're all London teams. So if you're in the UK as an Arsenal fan, just come to Nigeria for summer and go back when the season starts. That's what I can say to you. And on that note, we've come to the end of the locker room. Thank you so much for all the messages and keeping it tuned. And a big thank you to you, Ini, for taking out the time to join me this morning. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, man.
All right, do take care of yourself and have a great Wednesday.
I will try.
All right, Lagos, keep you tuned to your love music, love live station Smooth 98.1. The Smooth Breakfast will kick on at 8, sorry, at 9 a.m. I beg your pardon, it was 8:15. We'll get into the world of conversation on Lagos Talks. Don't go anywhere.